Rank Arkansas, you cowards. And all that's coming up after the bumper.
Don't be cornering me. Hold up. Time. You gotta help me with that corner shit.
What's up, kinfolk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. Consider hitting the like and subscribe button because I upload a video every single day. It's always college football related, sports related. We have a good time. And today, we got to talk about the Razorbacks getting their first SEC home win since 2016. Beating up on an Ole Miss team that gave Alabama everything they wanted and then some last week. There's two ways to think about this. The first one is nobody knows what to do with the SEC right now, which is kind of cool because everybody seems to know what to do with the SEC. But we'll see how that goes with Georgia and Alabama in just a couple of hours. But more than that, Arkansas is a good football team. And I've been saying Arkansas is a good football team since week 2 of the SEC's conference schedule coming out. But more than that, they'd already been facing what I thought was the toughest schedule in all of college football, in the history of college football. And now, with them beating up on an Ole Miss team that put up 647 yards on Alabama in one game of football with 48 points, you have to respect what the put boss is doing. Now, Felipe Franks did not look great at times. That man is all gas and all brakes all at the same time. I feel like he's double clutching everything he does because when he's able to drop a dime, it's awesome. But when he don't drop a dime, it's not so awesome. And then you had this brother-in-law thing between Kendall Browse and Jeff Lebby. Apparently, Kendall Browse's sister is married to Jeff Lebby, who's offensive coordinator at Ole Miss. And the offenses were not necessarily that good, but when you take into account what Ole Miss had done against Alabama, put up the most points on them as an unranked opponent since 1936, you're expecting Ole Miss to come in here, not just as a favorite, but to continue to do to Arkansas what has basically been done to Arkansas since Brett Bielema received his contract extension for beating up on a Charlie Strong team at Texas that wasn't no good to begin with. But then you look at the stats here, Trey Burks and Elijah Moore both went off with over 100 yards receiving, but neither quarterback had a great day. I mean, Matt Corral is 20 of 38 with 6 interceptions. 6 interceptions. So the way that I look at that is not that Matt Corral is a bad quarterback because I just watched him carve up Alabama's defense. It's that Barry Odom's 4.25 is working. It's working. Grant Morgan with the pick 6 to end this thing at the end of the game for the 33-21 win. I'm excited about what Arkansas is going to be because I didn't expect Arkansas to be any good at all this year. If they got 2 wins and they have those wins, I said that this was going to be a win for Arkansas. And now, 2-2 in the SEC and the SEC West on the same day that Auburn finally got their comeuppance, getting beat down by a South Carolina team that ain't no good to begin with. Meanwhile, people trying to tell me that Bo Nix was good. I said, put the grad transfer and Howard alumnus Kalen Newton in at quarterback. Let that man cook. Chad Morris out here just giving Bo Nix every opportunity to continue to screw this up for him. And Bo Nix over there being petulant and a child, not actually running an offense, and they still get beat down. Now, Arkansas should be 3-1. I think most people would understand that. They got hosed in the final seconds of the game against Auburn. The boy fumbled the football, but they didn't want to call it a fumble, and so Arkansas ends up losing that football game. But now, taking a look at Arkansas, you got Tennessee coming up, not Tennessee coming up, Texas A&M coming up, and I think they could beat them. There's a Tennessee on your schedule, Florida on your schedule, LSU on your schedule, Missouri on your schedule, and then a Bama on your schedule. You can beat almost every one of those teams, right? I still don't think that you got enough to beat Alabama because, after all, Alabama put 63 up on Ole Miss. You put up 33. That said, they're getting better with each year. Each game, right? This time next year, I imagine what they're going to be. Because that's the only thing that I'd be worried about right now if I'm an Arkansas fan is, are we peaking too soon? But right now, enjoy it, right? What else does Arkansas have to do to prove to people that they are headed in the right direction and that Sam Pittman was exactly the dude that they needed to have? I take it back to when he first got this job, man. This man is standing in front of a group of people and he is tearing up because he's finally got an opportunity to be a head coach at a Power 5 program. And for a man that was raised in El Reno, Oklahoma, who knows what this region is about, who understands what Arkansas football is, that meant a lot not just to the folks that are going to root for him, but to all of the recruits that are watching this. And we all know that Sam Pittman is a king recruiter. We know that Sam Pittman can go out there and get the guys that you need to get to win at Arkansas. You bring in Felipe Franks, but you also got Xavier Kelly over there. You bring in Levi Draper to bolster your linebacker crew. You're getting real solid play out of Jalen Catalon, and on it goes. You got something out of Traylon Smith. You know who Raheem Boyd is. You understand what the offensive line is going to be. You got Hot Sauce Davis coaching that line, right? And I've said before, and I will continue to say, I like Kendall Browse's veer and shoot. I think it works. And you could see they had great running lanes. You could see that they were having real success moving the football. Even as you didn't see that many yards put up in this game, the summary was worthwhile, right? Because, like, I'm looking at Jerry and Ely's got 23 rushes for 112 yards. That's 5 yards per carry. You still didn't let him into the end zone but one time. But I'm also looking at Traylon Smith, who's 15 for 54. You got Trey Burks out there rushing for 446, and then, of course, Raheem Boyd, 14 for 39. You're able to actually turn a pretty pedestrian offensive performance into an outstanding defensive performance because, again, 6 interceptions of Matt Corral. So now everybody in the SEC is on notice because this is a year in which nobody can play defense. And yet, here's Arkansas playing defense against Ole Miss in a way that Alabama couldn't play defense against Ole Miss. And that might be enough. Like, you can beat LSU with defense because their defense is going to be sorry. You understand that you can beat Texas A&M with defense because Kellen Mond is looking for reasons to give you the football, right? You understand you can beat Tennessee with defense because look at what they did to Kentucky today. Like, they were just giving up the booty, right? I'm here for it. I'm excited to see what Arkansas continues to do. I'm excited to see Arkansas ranked in the Associated Press top 25 on Sunday. Man, I need a vote. Like, that's what I'm coming down to. I cover enough college football. Somebody tell the folks at the Associated Press to give me a vote because this is stupid. Like, I've been seeing Arkansas needs to be ranked for the last 2 weeks, and yet here they are, just damn near beating an Auburn team, and anybody watch that game knows that they beat them in everything but the scoreboard, right? And then they're going against the Ole Miss team that gave the number 2 team in the country everything they want. And then you continue to look at what they have been and what they could be, starting with that game against, Mississippi State. Turns out Mississippi State ain't that good, but nobody knew that when they beat them. That's 3 ranked opponents to start the season, right? And basically they're going to see 4 out of 5 first opponents that they see are going to be top 25 teams. And yet here we are talking about Sam Pittman and the Pitt boss going like this to get this program a win in SEC competition. Chad Morris couldn't do that in 2 years. 2 years he couldn't do that. Still catching nails at Auburn. Like, on the one hand, yeah, I want to dunk on Chad Morris. On the other hand, I'd really want to give it up to Sam Pittman, who is coaching like this in a pandemic. He didn't really get to see his kids in the ways that you're traditionally getting to see your kids. And when he did, he's marching with them in Black Lives Matter protest. He is arm in arm with his kids saying, I care about my players. I care about how they feel. And to do that in Fayetteville is not a small thing. Like, we ain't got time to go into the history lesson of Arkansas, but you should know I did not expect that to occur in Fayetteville, let alone with the head football coach out in front. Tremendously big deal, tremendously big win. You could see that the chemistry and the cohesion on that football team is paying off. All right, that's it for me. Deuces.